Imagine returning home and discovering that an entire settlement is gone. Not abandoned yesterday, not empty for a few hours, gone for years.
Welcome back to The Explainer. Okay, let's dive into this. Tonight, we are opening up the Enigma files for a true cold case historical investigation. We're looking at file number 023, Roanoke, the colony that simply disappeared.
Part 1. The Empty Settlement on Roanoke Island.
So picture this. It's 1587, and over 100 English colonists, we're talking whole families, kids included, they arrived to build a brand new life on an island off the coast of modern-day North Carolina. But when someone finally came back to check on them, they found a totally unbelievable reality. The houses were gone, the people were gone. Seriously, just put yourself in those shoes for a second. You're expecting this bustling, growing village, and instead, absolute silence. There were no obvious signs of a battle, no bodies, no clear evidence of some frantic struggle. The entire colony was just deserted, leaving us with basically zero obvious explanations.
Part 2. The delayed governor and a fatal wait.
Right, so here's what happened. The colony's appointed governor, a guy named John White, made what seemed like a totally necessary and practical decision right after they arrived. He went back to England to grab some desperately needed supplies. And this brilliantly illustrates the timeline of what went wrong. The families arrived, and White left in 1587. But then, the geopolitical stage shifted. England got completely tangled up in a massive naval war with Spain. Because of the conflict, literally every available ship was seized by the Crown. Meaning, White's return trip? It was delayed for 3 agonizingly long years. He couldn't make it back until 1590, and, well, that is exactly when he discovered the horrifyingly empty settlement we just talked about.
Part 3. The Only Clue. A Message Left Behind.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that before White left years earlier, he specifically told the settlers to leave a clear marker if they were ever forced to relocate. The only clue they ended up finding was just one single word, carved deeply into a tree: Croatoan. White recognized it immediately. Croatoan was the name of a neighboring island as well as a nearby indigenous community. So this wasn't random gibberish, right? It carried highly specific meaning.
Part 4. Investigating the theories and decoding the absence.
Now, as we walk through these possibilities, we've got to remember we are looking strictly at theories based on remarkably limited evidence. So, the first major question we have to ask: did they join another community? Think about their situation on that timeline we just looked at. 3 years is an incredibly long time to be stranded without resupply. Keeping that settlement running might have literally become physically impossible. Food would have been incredibly scarce. Relations with nearby groups might have shifted. The colonists might have simply decided, hey, it's safer and smarter to move. In this context, Croatoan wasn't some mysterious cryptic riddle at all. It was a literal instruction, a forwarding address left for their delayed governor.
But what if they didn't all go to the exact same place? Were they scattered? The second theory suggests there wasn't one single, unified destination for over 100 people. Under that kind of extreme pressure, the colonists might have splintered off into smaller, more manageable groups. Some might have joined various indigenous communities around the region. Others could have tried moving further inland on their own. And, tragically, we have to assume some likely died from disease, hunger, or just the sheer brutal hardship of their environment.
When weighing a sudden disappearance against a slow dissolution, pop culture absolutely loves the idea of a vanishing act, doesn't it? Everyone just disappearing in a flash of smoke over a single weekend. But historically speaking, a slow dissolution is far more likely. The colony simply broke apart over months, or maybe years. People moved, communities changed, some survived elsewhere and others didn't. There wasn't one massive event. Rather, the evidence simply wasn't preserved for us to find.
And of course, we have to ask the third question. Was there conflict? These settlers were living in a completely unfamiliar environment, surrounded by different indigenous communities with their own complex politics and resource needs. Conflicts were entirely possible, and some later theories suggest the colonists could have been attacked. However, we must strictly note that there is zero definitive evidence, no mass graves, no signs of burning, no widespread battle artifacts, showing that a coordinated attack wiped out the entire settlement in one fell swoop.
Walk through this clinical breakdown of the case with me. Relocation, scattering, and conflict. We can match them up with compelling evidence. We've got historical accounts suggesting relationships with nearby communities, well-documented hardships and diseases of the era, and the undeniable reality of living in a totally unfamiliar environment. We can build a compelling case for any of these scenarios. So the crucial point is, a possibility isn't proof.
We have pieces of a puzzle, but we still don't have the picture on the box. Part 5. Where did they go? The unsolved mystery.
So get this. When John White originally saw the carving on that tree, he actually felt a huge wave of relief. He firmly believed the colonists had probably gone to Croatoan, exactly as the tree indicated. He fully intended to sail there immediately to investigate, but before he could, a massive storm battered his ships, forcing the expedition to leave the area entirely and abandon the search forever. Because of that fatal twist of weather, no single discovery has ever provided a complete answer. Over the centuries, archaeologists have relentlessly searched for traces of the settlers. Researchers have discovered fascinating clues that have absolutely changed how historians understand the dynamics of the colony, but the definitive, undeniable final destination of those families remains completely unconfirmed to this day.
So, I leave you with this to ponder. Is there still a piece of the story waiting to be discovered? After all these centuries, are we just missing something buried beneath the soil of North Carolina? Maybe the word carved into the tree was the ultimate answer all along, exactly as it appeared. Or maybe it was only the beginning of a much larger, much deeper mystery that we are still trying to unravel.
File number 023 remains open. Thank you for joining me for this Enigma Files Explainer. Subscribe as we continue to open these cases where every mystery has a file and every file hides a story. Until the next investigation, stay curious.